At family dinner my parents said, "Nobody here needs you anymore." So I smiled, left the table and canceled the $15,000 monthly support that was keeping their house from foreclosure. Hey family, your support keeps these stories alive. Subscribe, say hi in the comments and tell us your city or country. Let's get into today's story. The text from Mama came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Family dinner Sunday. Be here at 5. Don't be late. No, please. No, we miss you. Just a command, like I was still that little girl who jumped when she said jump. I stared at my phone screen in my corner office on the 42nd floor, watching the city sprawl below me like a kingdom I'd built brick by brick. My assistant knocked softly, reminding me about the board meeting in 10 minutes. I'd been sending that monthly transfer for 3 years now. $15,000 automatic withdrawal, first of every month. The amount that kept their house, the house I grew up in, from being swallowed by the bank. The house where Daddy had his poker nights and Mama hosted her church ladies. The house my younger brother Jaden and my sister Karen still lived in rent-free at 31 and 28. You coming or what? Another text. This time from Jaden. I hadn't been to a family dinner in 8 months. Every excuse I'd given was legitimate. Work trips to Atlanta, speaking engagements, networking events. But the truth? I was exhausted. Exhausted from being the family ATM. Exhausted from the guilt trips when I couldn't drop everything to solve their latest crisis. But something in Mama's text felt different. Urgent. Maybe even final. I texted back, "I'll be there." I had no idea I was walking into an ambush. Let me take you back so you understand who I am, who I was. Growing up, I was the good one. While Jaden was getting suspended for fighting and Karen was sneaking boys through her bedroom window, I was in the library. Straight A's. National Honor Society. Full scholarship to a prestigious university that I won't name, but you'd recognize it. I was supposed to be the family's salvation, Mama always said. And I was. Sort of. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in finance, got recruited by a top firm before I even walked across that stage. By 25, I was making 6 figures. By 30, I doubled that. By 33, now, I was a senior vice president pulling in nearly $500,000 annually, not counting bonuses. The family celebrated when I got my first big promotion. Mama cooked my favorite, fried catfish, collard greens, cornbread that melted in your mouth. Daddy actually hugged me, something he rarely did. Jaden and Karen seemed proud, genuinely. Then came the request. First it was small. "Baby, can you help with the electric bill? Just this once." Then the car payment. Then Jaden's legal fees after his 3rd DUI. Then Karen's credit card debt. Then the mortgage when Daddy's hours got cut at the plant. Each time I said yes. Because that's what family does, right? But just this once became every month. And somehow I became responsible for everyone's poor decisions. Sunday arrived with that peculiar autumn chill that makes you question whether you dressed appropriately. I chose a simple cashmere sweater and jeans. Nothing too fancy. I'd learned that lesson. Last time I'd worn anything remotely expensive, Mama had made a comment. Must be nice to afford Gucci while your family scrapes by. I'd been paying their mortgage for 2 years at that point. The house looked the same as always. Brick exterior needing repointing, lawn overgrown, Daddy's truck in the driveway with the dented bumper he refused to fix. My brand new Audi looked obscene parked in front, so I'd deliberately driven my older sedan instead. Even that drew stares from Mrs. Patterson next door. I knocked. No one answered, so I let myself in with my old key. The scene inside stopped me cold. Everyone was already seated at the dining table. Mama at one head, Daddy at the other. Jaden to the left with someone I didn't recognize. A woman with long braids and a guarded expression. Karen to the right, scrolling through her phone. And between them, 2 empty chairs. One for me. One for someone else. "You're late," Mama said without looking up. I checked my phone. 4:58 p.m. You said 5. It's not even. We eat at 4:30 now. You'd know that if you came around more often. Deep breath. I'd promised myself I wouldn't engage. I'm here now. That's what matters. Jaden snorted. The unknown woman watched me with curious eyes, assessment in her gaze. "Sit down," Daddy commanded. His voice had that edge it got after his second beer. I sat, my spine straight, hands folded, like a defendant awaiting verdict. The woman with the braids extended her hand across the table. I'm Kenya, Jaden's fiancé. Fiancé. My baby brother was engaged and this was how I found out. I shook her hand, managed to smile. Congratulations. I had no idea. When did this happen? 3 months ago. Jaden said, that defensive tone he always used with me sharpening his words. We've been planning the wedding. Would have told you sooner, but you're always too busy. 3 months. I'd sent him $2,000 for car repairs 6 weeks ago. I'm happy for you both, I said, meaning it despite the sting. Kenya seemed nice, though her eyes held a wariness that told me she'd been briefed about me. The stuck-up sister with money who thinks she's better than everyone. Mama started bringing out dishes, her Sunday best. Baked chicken, macaroni and cheese, green beans, rolls. The smells transported me to childhood, to simpler times before money became the family language. Kenya's pregnant, Karen announced, still staring at her phone. Due in March. My head swiveled to Jaden, who couldn't meet my eyes. Congratulations, I repeated, this time more hollowly. That's wonderful news. We're gonna need help with the wedding, Mama said, setting down the chicken with more force than necessary. Nothing too fancy. Maybe 20,000 should cover it. Small ceremony, nice reception. There was 20,000. Said as casually as someone asking to borrow $20. And the nursery needs furnishing, Daddy added. Kenya's moving in next week. She'll take your old room. My old room. Where my debate trophies still sat on shelves, where my college acceptance letters were framed. Everyone started eating except me. My appetite had vanished, replaced by a familiar knot in my stomach, the one that appeared whenever I was home. You not hungry? Mama asked, an accusation in her tone. Just waiting for everyone else to get served. Always so proper, Karen muttered. Miss Corporate America. Kenya looked uncomfortable, pushing green beans around her plate. Smart woman, she could sense the tension thickening the air. So, I ventured, trying to navigate safer waters, how did you two meet? Jaden's face softened slightly. At the barbershop. She came in to visit her cousin who works there. We just clicked. He was so sweet, Kenya added, her hand finding his. Different from what I expected after. She trailed off, but I caught Mama's warning glance. After what? After whatever story they told her about me. That's beautiful, I said. Love finds us when we least expect it. Speaking of love, Daddy interjected, his fork scraping against the plate. When you gonna find somebody? You're 33. Clock's ticking. Or you too busy making money to make a family? The words hit like pellets. I'd actually been seeing someone. David, a lawyer I'd met at a charity gala. But I'd learned long ago not to bring anyone home until it was serious. The last boyfriend I'd introduced to them had been interrogated like a suspect, asked about his salary before his last name. I'm dating someone, I offered carefully. He rich? Jaden asked, grinning. Bet he is. You only deal with people on your level now. That's not fair. Isn't it? Karen looked up from her phone finally. When's the last time you came to one of my art shows? Or asked about my life? The room had shifted. I could feel it, the way a gazelle senses the lions closing in. This wasn't a family dinner. This was a trial. I ask about your art all the time, I said to Karen, keeping my voice level. I bought 3 of your paintings last year. Because you felt sorry for me. Not because you actually cared. That's not true. I have them hanging in my apartment. Your expensive apartment that you've never invited us to, Mama interrupted. You ashamed of us? Is that it? My heart was hammering now. You know that's not true. The building has security protocols, guest lists. Excuses, Jaden said. Always excuses with you. Kenya shifted uncomfortably and I caught her whispering to Jaden, Baby, maybe we should. No, he said firmly. She needs to hear this. We all been tiptoeing around it for years. Daddy leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, watching. He always let Mama orchestrate these things, then backed her up when needed. A united front against me. Hear what exactly? I asked, my lawyer voice emerging. Calm, professional, deadly. That you think you better than us, Karen said, gaining courage from Jaden's lead. That you look down on us from your fancy office with your fancy job. I have never. You have. Mama's fist hit the table, rattling the dishes. Every time you write one of those checks, I can see it in your eyes. Judgment. Like we're charity cases. Like we're beneath you. I help because you're my family. Because I love you. Love. Daddy laughed, bitter and cold. You don't know what love is. Love is being here. Love is showing up. Not throwing money at problems and disappearing. I stood up, chair scraping against the floor. You want me to show up? I've been showing up. I paid for Jaden's lawyer when he got his third DUI. I paid off Karen's $15,000 in credit card debt from her art supplies. I've been paying your mortgage for 3 years. And you never let us forget it, Mama hissed. Every conversation it's hanging there. What you've done for us. How much you sacrifice. Because it's true. I work 60-hour weeks to afford helping you. Nobody asked you to do all that, Jaden said. You did it to feel superior. To have something to hold over our heads. My hands were shaking. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. You asked, I said quietly, dangerously. Every single time you asked. Sometimes you begged. Do you remember, Jaden? When you called me crying because you were going to jail, and I wired $5,000 in 20 minutes to your lawyer? That's different. How? How is it different? Kenya stood up. I think I should go. This is family business. No, stay, Mama commanded. You're family now. You should see what she's really like. All high and mighty, throwing money around to make herself feel important. I looked at Daddy, searching for an ally for sanity. He met my gaze and shrugged. You did distance yourself. Can't deny that. Money changed you. Money. I laughed, a harsh sound even to my own ears. Money didn't change me. Need changed me. Constant, relentless need. Every month something new. And I gave because I thought that's what families do. We didn't need your money, Karen said. We needed you. Where were you when I needed you? The words erupted from somewhere deep. Where were any of you when I was working 3 jobs to get through college because my full scholarship didn't cover living expenses? When I was eating ramen for weeks because I sent you grocery money, Mama? Mama's face hardened. That was your choice. Nobody told you to go to some fancy school. You could have stayed local, stayed with family. And done what? Work at the plant like Daddy? I wanted more. I wanted to build something. And I did. And somehow that makes me the villain. You left us behind, Jaden said, standing now too. You got successful and forgot where you came from. I send you $15,000 a month. How is that forgetting? Money isn't everything. Karen shouted. It is when you're asking for it constantly. I fired back. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Then Daddy spoke, his voice low and final. Nobody here needs you anymore. The words landed like bullets. Clean. Precise. Fatal. I stared at him, at all of them. Mama nodded in agreement. Jaden looked away but didn't contradict. Karen crossed her arms, defiant. Only Kenya looked distressed, a hand over her mouth. What did you say? I whispered. You heard me, Daddy repeated louder now. We don't need you. We don't need your money or your judgment or your superiority complex. We were a family before you got rich and will be a family after you're gone. Then why the hell did you invite me here? Mama stood, wiping her hands on her apron in that dismissive way she had. To tell you to your face. To release you from your burden. Since we're such a drain on your precious resources. Something inside me crystallized. Years of resentment, exhaustion, and hurt formed into something diamond hard and clear. I smiled. Not a happy smile. A knowing one. Okay, I said softly. They looked confused. This wasn't the reaction they'd expected. They'd wanted tears, arguments, pleas for forgiveness. Okay. Jaden repeated. You don't need me. Perfect. I don't need this. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app while they watched. Took me 30 seconds to find the recurring transfer. Another 10 to cancel it. What are you doing? Mama's voice had changed, uncertainty creeping in. Exactly what you asked. Releasing myself from the burden. I held up my phone, showing the confirmation screen. Monthly transfer cancelled. Effective immediately. Daddy's face went pale. Now wait a minute. No. The word came out like a judge's gavel. You said nobody here needs me. I'm taking you at your word. You're overreacting, Karen said, but her voice wavered. We didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it then? Please enlighten me. Because from where I'm standing, you've spent the last hour telling me how terrible I am, how my help isn't wanted, how I'm not really family. So I'm agreeing with you. Kenya spoke up, her voice small. Maybe everyone should calm down. This doesn't concern you, Mama snapped at her, then turned to me. You can't just abandon your family. Abandon. I laughed again, that same harsh sound. I'm doing exactly what you told me to do. You don't need me. Therefore I'm not needed. Simple. The mortgage payment is due in 2 weeks, Daddy said, panic replacing his earlier authority. I know when it's due. I've been paying it for 36 months straight. Not once late. Not once questioned. But since you don't need me. I grabbed my purse, my keys. I guess you'll figure it out. You're being childish, Mama said, but I could see fear in her eyes now. Real fear. No. I'm being exactly what you accused me of being. Distant. Not involved in family matters. I headed toward the door, my legs somehow steady despite the earthquake inside me. Jaden blocked my path. You can't do this. The bank will foreclose. We'll lose the house. Then maybe you should get a job. A real job. Not freelance DJ work that nets you $200 a month. I stepped around him. Kenya seems nice, by the way. I hope you don't drain her dry like you did me. You selfish, Karen started. I whirled on her. Selfish? I paid $15,000 in credit card debt for you. Debt you accumulated buying designer clothes and bar tabs while telling everyone you were a starving artist. I have the statements. Want me to list what you bought? She went quiet. That's what I thought. I looked at each of them, memorizing their faces. You want to know why I don't come around? This is why. Because every single time it costs me. Not just money. It costs me peace. Dignity. Self-respect. So what, you're just gonna disappear? Daddy asked. Turn your back on the people who raised you? You didn't raise me to be your personal bank. You raised me to be strong, independent, successful. Congratulations. You succeeded. And now I'm using that strength to say no. I made it to my car before the tears came. Sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, watching the house through blurred vision. I could see them through the window arguing. Mama's arms waving. Daddy pacing. Jaden on his phone, probably checking their bank balance. My phone buzzed. Jaden, you're really doing this? I didn't respond. Karen, Mama's crying. Are you happy now? Delete. Even Kenya. I don't know what happened before I got here, but they really do need that money. Please reconsider. I turned off my phone. The drive home took 40 minutes, but I don't remember any of it. Autopilot carried me to my building, through the lobby where the doorman greeted me with his usual smile, up the elevator to the 23rd floor, into my apartment that suddenly felt cavernous and empty. I'd decorated it carefully over the years. Minimalist but warm. Karen's paintings on the walls, the ones I'd bought because I genuinely loved them, not out of pity. Books everywhere. A view of the city that had been my reward for all those years of grinding. It felt hollow now. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on my balcony, and let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing for years. The anger, yes. But also the grief. I'd lost my family tonight. Or maybe I'd lost them years ago and only now realized it. My phone was still off, but I could imagine the messages accumulating. Angry ones. Desperate ones. Maybe even apologetic ones. It didn't matter. For the first time in years I'd chosen myself. And it felt simultaneously liberating and devastating. 3 weeks passed. The messages piled up, 47 texts, 19 voicemails, countless emails. I read none of them. My therapist, Dr. Ellis, called it setting necessary boundaries. I called it survival. Work became my sanctuary. I threw myself into a merger deal worth $20 million, worked until midnight most nights, volunteered for the Tokyo trip nobody else wanted. My boss, Patricia, noticed. "You okay?" she asked one Thursday evening, finding me still at my desk at 9 p.m. "Fine. Just focused." Focused or hiding? I looked up at her. Patricia was 60, brilliant, had built her career in a time when women like us had to be twice as good to get half the recognition. She understood battles. Both, I admitted. She sat in the chair across from my desk, her power suit somehow still crisp after a 14-hour day. "Family. How did you?" I recognized the signs. I cut off my own family 20 years ago. Best and worst decision I ever made. Does it get easier? No. But you get stronger. The question is, did they deserve you? I thought about that night. The ambush. The cruelty. The entitlement. "No," I said finally. "They didn't." "Then you made the right choice." But right didn't mean painless. I dreamed about them constantly. Mama's collard greens. Daddy's rare laugh. Jaden and Karen as kids before everything got complicated. I grieved the family I'd wanted, not the one I'd had. My phone buzzed. Against my better judgment, I looked. It was from an unknown number. "This is Kenya. Your family lost the house yesterday. Bank foreclosed. They're staying with your aunt. The baby's due in 2 months and we have nowhere to go. Jaden is devastated. Your mother had a panic attack. Please. Even if you hate them, think about your nephew." My hands trembled as I read it again. I sat with Kenya's message for 3 days. The guilt was crushing, exactly what they'd counted on. The baby. My nephew. Innocent in all of this. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called my Aunt Carol, Mama's older sister who'd moved to another state 15 years back. We'd stayed in occasional contact, holiday cards mostly. "Baby girl," she answered warmly. "Been wondering when you'd call." "You heard." "Heard? Honey, your mama's been calling everyone she knows, painting you as the villain. Says you abandoned them out of spite." My stomach dropped. "Aunt Carol, that's not." "I know it's not. I've known your mama for 63 years. I love my sister, but she's got a gift for playing victim when she's the victimizer." The validation nearly broke me. They said they didn't need me. They said that because they wanted you to beg. To prove you loved them by accepting their abuse. Classic manipulation. Your grandfather did it to your grandmother for 40 years. It's a family disease. I canceled the mortgage payment. Good. Should have done it sooner. Her voice was firm but kind. "You know what nobody's telling you? Your daddy got a $20,000 settlement from the plant 6 months ago. Workers' comp from his back injury. You know where that money went?" "Where?" "New truck for Jaden. Art supplies for Karen. Your mama's church donated $5,000 to the building fund. Donated publicly so everyone would praise her generosity. Using your money to buy reputation." I couldn't breathe. "They had enough to make the mortgage payment themselves," Aunt Carol continued. "They chose not to because why should they when you do it? You were their golden goose, baby. And they got mad when you wouldn't lay eggs on command. The baby. They're fine. Jaden got a real job last week. Kenya's family is helping. The foreclosure freed them from a house they couldn't afford anyway. Sometimes the best thing you can do for people is let them face their own consequences." We talked for another hour. She told me stories I'd never heard. About Mama's jealousy when Carol succeeded, about the family pattern of emotional blackmail, about how proud she was of me for finally breaking free. When I hung up, something had shifted. The guilt was still there, but it was overshadowed by something else. Clarity. I wrote a final message. Not to them individually but to the family group chat I'd been ignoring. "I loved you all with everything I had. I gave until I had nothing left to give but resentment. You taught me that love without boundaries destroys the person doing the loving. I release you from the burden of having me in your lives, and I release myself from the burden of funding yours. I hope you find what you're looking for, but you won't find it in me anymore. I wish you well, but from a distance. Goodbye. Then I blocked every number, every email, every connection. I met David's family last weekend. His mother hugged me like I was already her daughter. His father asked about my work with genuine interest. His sister invited me to her book club. They're wonderful, I told Dr. Ellis in our session Monday. How does that make you feel? Guilty. Like I don't deserve this kind of family. Or maybe, she suggested gently, you're finally experiencing what family should have been all along. I'm not over it. Some wounds don't heal, they just scar. I still think about them. Wonder if Karen sold any paintings. Jaden is a good father. If Mama regrets that night. But I don't break. Not anymore. I donated $50,000 to a foundation that helps young Black women in finance. Mentored 3 college students through their internships. Built a life that nourishes instead of depletes me. Someone asked me recently if I regret that night walking away from the table. Well, I regret not doing it sooner. They taught me that family isn't who shares your blood. It's who respects your boundaries. Who celebrates your success instead of resenting it. Who loves you without conditions or calculations. I thought I'd lost my family that night. I was wrong. I lost people who happened to be related to me. My real family, the one I'm still building, would never have needed to be lost in the first place. And that truth, painful as it is, set me free. If you've ever felt like the family ATM, like your worth is measured in what you provide rather than who you are, I want you to know, you're not alone. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. It makes you human. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no to them and yes to yourself. This story reflects the difficult reality many face when family relationships become transactional. Remember, therapy helps. Boundaries heal. And your peace is worth protecting no matter who demands you sacrifice it.